welcome again to another edition of the Roundtable Show presented by Ralph East. Thank you much for being here. I'm Norm Weber, Big John Malkowski, International League official scorer.
All week this week.
In St. John's Radio Network. And no, this is not Marty Ben. The one and only Steve Taylor.
Yeah, man.
TV, radio star on Saturday, 106.5 The Ticket.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me again. Once again.
I could get you cranked up here.
Oh, yeah. It won't take long.
I thought wearing the Raiders jersey, I'd taken a partial look at the NFL draft.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'd rather gathered when you called me in the midst of the draft and then abruptly hung up when the Raiders were on the clock.
All right, we'll get to all that too. We'll look at the Lions, look at the Browns, and look through the first round anyway, because there's all kinds of stuff to talk about.
Boy.
Well, Kyler Murray went number 1 overall.
Man.
You tell me, what's the difference between Kyler Murray and Doug Flutie?
About 2 inches.
35 years in time, because it's about the same guy.
Yeah, but everybody's 2 inches bigger now.
Yeah, I mean, it would be tough for me to take, and Kyler is highly talented. However, 5'9", 190 pounds. That's what scares me, the 190 pounds, because see, if you accidentally trip into one of them 300-pound defensive tackles, which you probably will.
How about the linebackers that go 260, 265 and run a 4.4?
Yeah. Boy.
And did they do anything to put anybody around him either?
Well, I mean, they did. They addressed a lot of needs. You know, the bigger problem I would have had, now, this is me. Why not draft out of there, trade back out of that for more assets? Because, see, at this point, the Cardinals have more holes in the dike than they have fingers. They're running out of fingers. So you get more draft capital. You already traded up to get a quarterback. Why not give him a chance? And my case in point in this is I know his numbers were abysmal last year, but look at Jared Goff compared to him. When Jared Goff had a defensive coach, and once he got an offensive coach in place, if Cliff Kingsbury is this quarterback whisperer that they say he is, then he would have been able to work wonders with Josh Rosen. But that's just me.
I've always been of the mind, if you earned that number 1 pick in the draft because you were the worst team, you have more needs than what one guy is going to fill.
Right.
I've always thought if you're number 1, number 2, something, trade back, pick up more stuff, because as long as you can draft. I mean, we've seen the Browns have all kinds of picks and amount to nothing.
And you can't really evaluate Josh Rosen either because the team was so lousy and nobody around him. Well, how do you evaluate that?
They drafted 1 offensive lineman in the entire draft. And their offensive line was terrible. And Josh Rosen was running for his life.
That was the problem last year. And Josh Rosen, by the numbers, would have been the highest rated quarterback in this draft. Yep. Higher than Kyler Murray.
But has the league really changed to where Kyler Murray is going to be an effective quarterback?
Everybody tries to compare him to Russell Wilson, or he's short too, but he's thick. I mean, these guys that are the Drew Brees and the Russell Wilson, they don't get hit. Kyler Murray, part of his selling point is that he runs. If you run, you're going to get hit.
Now, scheme is everything, and we saw what Oklahoma did with him to take advantage of his assets. Is Cliff Kingsbury going to be that kind of guy? And see, Cliff Kingsbury saw him up close and personal, just like he saw Mahomes.
Nick Bosa goes number 2 to San Francisco. Quentin Williams, defensive lineman, goes number 3 to the Jets. Nobody to quibble with that. Do you want to skip 4 and I'll hit it later?
Oh, no.
Because once I start this, the floodgates are going to open. Let's do the Raiders in the next segment then.
Ooh.
I'm going to push it back here a little bit. But Devin White goes 5 to Tampa Bay, and you go down here, and I want to hit the Steelers.
What, so you're going to bypass 6?
No. Okay, let's go to 6. Daniel Jones, quarterback Duke, to the Giants.
Because because Gettleson watched 3 series of the Senior Bowl That's what sold him.
Fake football.
Yeah, that's what sold him on Daniel Jones being the number 6 pick. 3 series. I don't know if anybody heard that press conference that he had the day after they picked him. He didn't even know what conference Ohio State was in. He said he went to Indianapolis to watch Ohio State and Dwayne Haskins in the Big 12 championship game. And he said, I think they're in the Big 12, right? How is this guy running an NFL team?
The Dave Gettleman
Money. He's got the money.
show.
That's why.
It's been the Dave Gettleman variety show. Because he's backed up on everything. I mean, because we can rewind when he said, we're not signing Odell Beckham to trade him. You trade him. That kind of sounds familiar because you remember he did the same thing with Josh Norman when he was in Carolina. So the guy keeps saying, well, look at my record. Okay, I'm looking at your record. It's repeating itself. But to take Daniel Jones at 6, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong on this kid. But because he was cut from the Cliff Kings, not the Cliff Kings, but it's got him on the mind. David Cutcliffe, the same guy who was tutored Peyton Manning when he was the offensive coordinator at Tennessee, Eli Manning when he was the head coach at Ole Miss. Okay, but I also remember Heath Schuler. See, I remember that. That happened. Okay, and I'm thinking that this kid is going to be more so on the Heath Schuler. He did make Duke better, and they became more of an offensive show. But
it's Duke. Anybody can make Duke better.
The quarterback from Missouri got taken by the Bengals, right?
No, he went to Denver.
Or where'd he go? Oh, okay, he went to Denver. I'm thinking of somebody else. But
Ryan Finley.
four-year starter, set a record in the SEC for touchdown pass. He's a better quarterback than Daniel Jones.
Drew Lock.
Yeah. I don't think there's any question he's a better quarterback. That's how bad this pick is.
And so is Dwayne Haskins.
But for him to look me in the eye, and he looked us all in the eye and said, I had someone, 2 other teams were going to take Daniel Jones. Man, you could have got Daniel Jones on Saturday.
Fine, let him take him.
Exactly. But they want Eli Manning 2.0, and that's exactly what he is.
He doesn't have the arm strength.
Well, and he still says that Eli's going to play 3 years.
Really?
Yeah, that's what Gettleman says.
He doesn't have the arm strength Eli Manning does. He does not. And arm strength in the NFL.
So I went back and looked at the tape of this kid because I didn't want to be, I really did. And so, I saw, a dozen throws. And, 10 of them guys were wide open. I'm like, well, yeah.
The closing speed in the NFL is something he's never seen before either. If you don't have the arm strength to get the ball there, not going to be open by the time the ball gets there. So, yeah, awful. All right, now we got to take a break. More in the NFL draft coming up. Don't go anywhere. It's the Front Row Roundtable show presented by Ralphie's.
Bring yourself to Ralphie's. Yeah, it's that good. It's that good no matter what your taste. It's that good. Come early, stay late. Burgers and beer, a shot of cheer. Great food and fun. It's that good here. Bring yourself to Ralphie's. Yeah, it's that good.
Mortgage Marty here. It's spring buying season's right around the corner. In fact, now is the best time to get started. Gives us a little lead time. If there's things we need to tweak, we can get on it right away. Remember, those credit inquiries don't affect your score any more than they will if you check later. So one inquiry, whether it's now and then again in the spring, still only counts as one, won't hurt your score. We helped 3 customers this week improve their score by an average of 30 points. So reach out now. Let's get that started. 419-461-0667 or marty.bin, B-I-H-N, at fairwaymc.com.
Powerbomb Wrestling is back in Toledo coming up on Sunday, June the 2nd, St. Clements Hall, 2990 Tremainsville in Toledo. Doors will open at 4:15, bell time at 5. It is June Justice, and you will see the champion Brandon Day defend his title. Also, a no DQ, no count out for the tag team titles. Andy Shane against Madman Fulton and more. It's Sunday, June the 2nd, St. Clements Hall in Toledo. And back we are, Front Row Roundtable show presented by Ralphie's. And if you haven't stopped by Ralphie's in a while, why? This is my home away from home.
Yeah, man, you put on weight. You see this?
Me? No, I hadn't noticed. It's the jersey. All right, let's get the Lions here at number 8. Here's my problem. Here's my problem with this. They take T.J. Hawkinson, tight end from Iowa, as 90% of the Lions fans were screaming anybody but a tight end.
That tight end.
He's a good player. He's going to help them. Here's my issue. My issue is you went with your second pick, 43rd overall, the Lions, with the linebacker out of Hawaii. And he was really like the last one of the upper tier of linebackers, okay, if you want to consider him upper tier. Let's just say there was a gap between him and whoever the next guy was, okay? Here's my issue. My issue is if you need a linebacker such as that, why do you not take Bush at 8 and then go into the second round and take a tight end?
Yeah, because Irv Smith was there when they drafted in the second round.
The tight end from
Tight
Alabama.
end from Alabama.
I was hoping the Raiders would take him, actually, because
Yeah, he was.
they need a tight end.
Obviously, Alabama's on TV all the time, but he was really good.
Yeah, he was. The thing with the kid that they took, you got to realize his other tight end, because they ran 2 tight end sets.
And the other guy got drafted in the
He
first
got
round.
drafted in the first round. He came into the season being the number 1 guy. So Hawkinson kind of snuck up on everyone. They're trying to turn him into Gronkowski 2.0. I mean, the Detroit Lions are hell bent on making Detroit. Patricia's trying to make Detroit the New England Patriots of the Midwest, and I don't know if it's going to work.
But you got to play the draft, okay? And what I'm saying is Irv Smith, the tight end from Alabama, is much closer to Hawkinson in talent. Might even be better
Yeah.
than the linebacker they took out of Hawaii is to Bush.
Well, you let Ed out. You had
From
Oliver
Michigan.
sitting there. You had Oliver sitting there because he went the next pick to Buffalo. Buffalo ran right up with the card. I mean, this, and I don't understand it. You bring in Trey Flowers. Why don't you bring in a wrecking force like an Ed Oliver who can play up and down that line of scrimmage, who can, I mean, even Montez Sweat, who dropped off. But speed is what the Lions need on the outside. They need speed.
But you can argue, did they need a defensive tackle, a defensive end, or a linebacker? I wasn't going to argue that. I'm saying if you're going to take a linebacker and you got Bush sitting there at number 8, why not take Devin Bush and then go take your tight end in the second round? Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
That's we want this guy. We're not going to listen. We're not going to pay attention. We're just going to do that. Did you like that the Steelers traded up?
They
To get
addressed
Devin
the
Bush,
need.
the inside linebacker
They
from
definitely addressed the need. I mean,
Michigan.
They needed a playmaker.
They needed to replace Ryan Shazier.
Yeah, and
who's-
that's kind of what they're doing.
Because when they did that, you know exactly why they did it.
Exactly.
wasn't a mystery.
But it made sense.
Sure, absolutely it did.
And it filled a need. And a lot of teams in this draft did just that. They filled needs. And you can't question a team that's filling needs. But when you reaching for players that, it's like, here's what I heard on the linebacker from Hawaii. The Patriots were interested in him. True story.
That's depressing, if anything. All right. I hung on to this. I skipped over number 4. Got to do my rant. Because there's so much groupthink when it comes to the draft. And a lot of people that want to be so-called experts, and I don't consider myself an expert, but I've been studying this for a while. All right. So-called experts that are in the media. How many
Everybody.
times are they just looking at somebody's list and somebody's comments on the list? Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, said of Mayock, if in an alternate universe, Mayock, who's now the general manager for the Raiders, was at the NFL Network for a long time and very well respected. If he'd have been still at the NFL Network and he would have talked up Cleveland Farrell, the defensive end that the Raiders took at number 4, he would have moved up everybody's draft list just because he would have been talking about him. Well, he sat on it. Obviously, he's not going to say a word about him because that's the guy he wanted. And the reason he's the guy they wanted, because everybody's talking about, well, why didn't they take Josh Allen or why didn't they take somebody else? Clelin Ferrell fits the scheme the Raiders want to run. Okay, pure and simple. This is a scheme pick. Okay, he can play either defensive end position, and he's a 3-down defensive end. He's not just a pass rusher. He's not just a run defender. Okay, he's going to be a 3-down guy. And this was a theme of the Raiders draft. We want versatile, lengthy, physical 3-down guys. And I'm going to get to the rest of this, but that's why they wanted Clelin Ferrell. And he was, let's face it, he was in the middle of the first round in a lot of the mocks. But the guy's a first-team All-American. He won the Ted Hendricks Award as the best defensive end in college football. He was the leader of the defense at Clemson, who won the national championship, by the way. This guy is not chopped liver. You're going to get, maybe he doesn't become Khalil Mack and the greatest defensive end that ever played the game, or they already got him in the Hall of Fame. But you're going to get a good player. You may not get a great player. He may not be the best defensive end in the NFL, but you're going to get a good player, and you're probably going to get a good one. Injuries, cross your fingers on injuries. I think he's an 8-10-year guy.
But he wasn't even the highest in most of the mocks that I saw. He wasn't even the highest Clemson offensive line or defensive lineman. They usually had the other two guys going before him.
Norm, you're not getting any argument out of me. What the Raiders did was take the best player, because see, my eyeballs told me everything I needed to see. I saw that national championship game. I saw Clelin Ferrell dominate that. Okay, so I know what he can do. Okay, when Dexter Lawrence went out, Ferrell dominated that game. And if you look at what Mayock did, he took 5 players from that game. So what is he saying is he wants guys who can come in, who are used to playing on the big stage, who talking about accountability. He's trying to change the whole scheme,
He's also trying to change the personality of the team.
That's where I'm going.
Okay, and Gruden talked about, and Mayock both talked about moving to Vegas. You're moving to Vegas, you better have character guys if you're in Vegas. If you don't, it's going to be trouble. Let me tell you a little bit about Ferrell and his background. One of 9 kids. Father was in the military, passed away at the age of 13. So he helped raise his siblings. Graduated in 3.5 years from Clemson. 3 guys really good on the defensive line, captain. And they say a big bundle of positive energy. And he says any adversity he has in the NFL ain't going to compare to what he's already gone through in his life. That's what they're shooting for. And when we come back, I got to take a break. But when we come back, I'm going to briefly run through what else they took and explain why it all fits. All right? Don't go anywhere. It's a Front Row Roundtable show presented by Ralphie's.
Bring yourself to Ralphie's. Yeah, it's that good. It's that good no matter what your taste. It's that good. Come early, stay late. Burgers and beer. A shot of cheer. Great food and fun. It's that good here. Bring yourself to Ralphie's. Yeah, it's that good.
Mortgage Marty here. It's spring buying season's right around the corner. In fact, now is the best time to get started. Gives us a little lead time. If there's things we need to tweak, we can get on it right away. Remember, those credit inquiries don't affect your score any more than they will if you check later. So one inquiry, whether it's now and then again in the spring, still only counts as one, won't hurt your score. We helped 3 customers this week improve their score by an average of 30 points. So reach out now. Let's get that started. 419-461-0667 or marty.bin, B-I-H-N, at fairwaymc.com.
Powerbomb Wrestling is back in Toledo coming up on Sunday, June the 2nd, St. Clements Hall, 2990 Tremainsville in Toledo. Doors will open at 4:15, bell time at 5. It is June Justice, and you will see the champion Brandon Day defend his title. Also, a no DQ, no count out for the tag team titles. Andy Shane against Man Fulton and more. It's Sunday, June the 2nd, St. Clements Hall in Toledo. right, welcome back to our Roundtable show presented by Ralphie's, Norm Waymer, Big John Malkowski, and Steve Taylor today. I'm glad you're here today.
Man, thanks.
Especially because you're geeky about this too. I was going on my rant about the Raiders and what they're looking for and what they're trying to bring in. Okay. Some people are of the thing, never take a running back in the first round. The Raiders took what was the best running back in the draft by everybody's account at 24. Let's not forget Ezekiel Elliott won the first round.
Todd Gurley.
Number 4.
So I'm a big believer too when you get in these drafts, and we've been in countless fantasy drafts and all. You like a guy, go get him. Just don't be wrong. Just don't be wrong. And I don't have a problem with early in a draft taking a guy that you know is going to be a good player. I don't like the boom or bust guys. I'm not a big fan of those guys.
Well, yeah, they get you fired.
So Raiders take Jacobs. They got another pick in the first round, 3 later. Take Jonathan Abram out of Mississippi State, the safety, who's a punisher. What was really cool about him was, I'm trying to remember, I think it was him. When he talked to Gruden, he said, "You're going to let me be on special teams, right?" Kid taken in the first round,
Yeah.
saying, "You're going to let me be on special teams, right?" Right? He's like, "Oh yeah." He goes, "Well, you're not going to have me just block, are you?" And Gruden said, "No, we want you to be a gunner."
There you go. And tell you what kind of guy he is.
And he got all excited nuts. And that's the type of guy you got. So you got a guy from Clemson, you got a guy from Bama. You go back in the second round, you take a corner out of Clemson.
Who made all the plays in the national championship.
Who was the player of the game?
Player of the game.
had a sack, forced fumble, interception, and I think 6 tackles in the game. So you're getting the guys with the experience. You're getting the character guys. You're getting, I'm happy with it. I really am. I'm really happy with it.
It's a lot to like in the Raider draft.
They had a game plan. They got the guys the type of guys that they wanted to get. Because we don't see that out of the Lions. We don't see that out of a lot of teams where they have a type of player that they want and go get that guy.
I will say this. I think the Browns did that in trading up to get Greedy Williams.
I thought the Browns. I thought that was great for not. I mean, when your first round pick is Odell Beckham Jr.
Thank you.
Basically, and then you get a guy who was in all the projections a mid first round guy in Greedy Williams, and you get him in the second round. I thought that was great. I thought they did great.
But listen to the reason he dropped. Because he had problems against guys like Jerry Jeudy. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Your Redskins, you're happy that they got a quarterback?
I like the pick of Dwayne Haskins. I think he's the best real quarterback on the board. I think he's ahead of Kyler Murray, way ahead of Daniel Jones. I like that. I did not like the Montez Sweat pick.
Oh, I love that pick.
I don't like it either.
You got a guy with a heart problem. You've got a guy that's been kicked out of a school already. So you've got character problems and heart problems. He would have been a guy off my board totally.
Why do these kids, when you turn on the tape and you look at Montez Sweat, and you say, well, he makes play after play after play, and then they say, well, he's got heart problems. Well, he didn't have heart problems on Saturdays.
Well, nobody questions his ability.
Oh, absolutely. But
nobody questions his ability.
Just like Norm was talking about character guys, a guy that's already gotten kicked out of a school, usually those guys don't change. And if you got one or the other, an injury problem or a health problem or a character problem, one of them you may be able to overlook. But you put both of them together, and no, he would have been off my board totally.
I thought Haskins was a great pick, but another great pick, Bryce Love.
Absolutely.
That's a great pick, especially at 4.
That's a guy who fell a long way because he tore his ACL, but he was a Heisman frontrunner for a lot of the last 2 years.
Yes.
And to take a risk on a guy like that, because he may not be the same guy when he comes back from the ACL, but if he is, and a lot of running backs have come back and been good after an ACL. I mean, look what Willis McGahee did after tearing his knee. Mm-hmm.
Can I tell you a team that I think did really well and nobody noticed? Atlanta.
Really?
What was their problem last year?
Well, offensive line.
Wasn't the quarterback, it was the offensive line. Trouble running the football, had trouble protecting Ryan. What did they do? They had their first round pick, took an offensive lineman. They traded back into the bottom of the first round, took another offensive lineman.
Yeah.
I mean, perfect. Perfectly focused on what they need.
You know, one of the teams I thought had an A draft, and nobody's still like kind of flying under the radar, and they're going to be a problem in October, November. The Indianapolis Colts. They're adding speed. You know, well, Rocky Sin, you know, that was a need at cornerback. I mean, this kid, he'll knock your socks off. But you come back and you get a Paris Campbell to go with T.Y. Hilton and that group that they have there, and that offensive line that they built there, they're nasty. They're just nasty. No one touches Luck anymore.
Oh, that never worked with Peyton Manning, did it?
No, it didn't.
All right, you got about 2 minutes or so. Robert Easter fight Saturday night.
Can you call it a fight? Sounded more like a dance to me.
So disappointing. And here's the biggest disappointment for me, because it ended up being a draw for those who didn't see it. It was the only fight I can recall where nobody landed double-digit punches in any of the rounds. I can't quibble with the draw. My disappointment is what this will do for Robert Easter's marketability. He would have been better off, and we understand styles make fights, and it was a bad clash of styles with two guys trying to counterpunch, two guys trying to be defensive first. But from a marketability standpoint and making money, you're better off losing in a fight where you're practically bleeding from the ears when it's done because you were in a war and it was such an exciting, entertaining fight, than you are in a fight like this. Because they were talking rematch afterwards, and there's not a soul on the planet that wants to see a rematch.
It's going to be the same thing all over again. You know, I mean, the thing that was disappointing to me is the reluctance to want to mix it up and turn it into like when he fought Comey. You know, take the fight to him.
Well, Comey came right at him.
You know,
so that was a good style for a good action fight. The thing that disappointed me was Bartholomew had a loss at 140, the division above where they were fighting this fight at, and the game plan was to double jab your way in and then start throwing combinations. They never did that. How do you not look at the Bartholomew loss and learn from that?
Well, because he was dominated in that loss.
Yes, he was.
You know, and he was.
Now it was 140. Now Bartholomew had not lost at 135 and had been champ.
Yeah. Okay. So that guy could have dropped 5 pounds and he still would have beat him like he beat him.
All right. Steve, appreciate it. John,
thank you.
Saturday Night Live next. Power Bomb Wrestling 2 a.m. You can't catch it DVR. You can catch all these shows on my YouTube channel. We'll see you next time right here. Front Row Roundtable Show presented by Ralphie's.